Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
An 82-year-old man hospitalized tonight after being stabbed. The suspect now in custody. We spoke to a neighbor who not only witnessed the whole ordeal, but also helped that victim survive.
It sounds like a good thing, making sure Texas honey is from Texas, but a local beekeeper says it's easier said than done. Her reaction to a proposed bill in the Texas House.
And two states are making waves when it comes to access to abortion rights services, one of them being Texas, why the abortion pill is in limbo as we speak tonight.
But first tonight, the Uvalde CISD interim superintendent Gary Patterson is releasing a statement about this viral video showing a DPS trooper shoving the mother of one of the Robb Elementary victims during a national school walkout day. Now, this was after that mom, Ana Rodriguez, attempted to check one of her other children out of school.
In a 677-word statement, Patterson wrote not only a response to that video, but also some context behind their thoughts surrounding several topics, including anxiety around gun discussions, the pending one-year anniversary at Robb Elementary, and increased media attention, just to name a few. Patterson says any discussion around the people in that video will remain private and confidential.
The statement posed a lot of questions related to the video and other situations surrounding the Robb shooting, but no solutions or answers were given. Now, DPS was released body cam footage of the same incident as a way to be transparent with the community. The identity of that DPS trooper has not been released. Investigation is underway. Now, to watch all of the video and to read prior release statements from officials, head to KSAT.com. A man is now in custody after allegedly stabbing his own father on the city's west side this morning.
Yeah, that father, who is in his 80s, was rushed to the hospital tonight. Team's Cabello Juarez tells us how one neighbor's quick thinking may have saved that man's life.
They hadn't called EMS.
Just before 11 this morning in the 7,000 block of Shady Grove, Julio Cantu says he was moving his car in the driveway when he saw an 82-year-old man wearing a shirt soaked in blood.
I thought he had like a USA shirt that looked half red with stripes, but it was his t-shirt.
When Cantu got closer, he learned the elderly man had been stabbed multiple times by his own son.
Then he turned around, he had a pretty big gash in the back of his head.
Cantu quickly grabbed his phone and called for help. The man was rushed to the hospital, but he is expected to be okay. When San Antonio police arrived, the suspect barricaded himself inside the house, but eventually surrendered peacefully.
Oh, what a relief.
For something to do that, especially to your own parents, I think that's something triggered it.
San Antonio police arrested the son for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. His name has not yet been released. Camila Juarez, KSAT 12 News.
Governor Greg Abbott is working to pardon an Army sergeant convicted of murder for a fatal shooting of a protester in downtown Austin in 2020. The governor made the announcement on social media just one day after the conviction. Sergeant Daniel Perry was convicted in the shooting from July 2020. Perry was working for a rideshare company when he turned on a street and went toward a large crowd of protesters fighting against police violence and racial injustice. Court records show Perry honked his horn before opening fire. 28-year-old Garrett Foster was hit several times and later died at a hospital. Perry is facing life in prison following the conviction. Governor Abbott has requested the Board of Pardons and Parole to determine if he should be pardoned in an expedited review.
A new piece of proposed legislation could have a big impact on beekeepers in our area. A Texas House bill would crack down on what could legally be called Texas honey. I spoke with a local woman who says this could help small beekeepers like herself. In between the rooster crows, there's a faint hum from Nicole Poor's bees.
I just made this hive with a new queen, so I can open it up and double check just to make sure that she's out of her little cage.
Amongst her goats, chickens, and roosters are Poor's 11 hives where she harvests homegrown Texas honey out of Hondo.
Can't make medical claims, but a lot of my customers do tell me that they do like to have honey, especially at allergy season, because it helps them feel better.
All of the honey she sells at farmers markets comes from her own backyard, but
That's not the case for all honey labeled pure Texas honey. Some commercial beekeepers will take their hives to other states to pollinate or supplement a low honey supply with a blend from another place. The proposed Texas House Bill 590 would make it a misdemeanor to label it Texas honey if it's not exclusively happening all within the Lone Star State.
If you label it as raw Texas or pure Texas honey, it should be from Texas, to the best of your knowledge.
If this proposed bill were to pass, those who mislabel honey could face jail time. Poor thinks that's a step too far.
If they want to buy Texas honey, it should be from Texas, but I don't think that jail time or anything like that would be necessary. I think a fine would be perfect.
Right now, HB 590 is being sent to the Senate Water, Agriculture, and Rural Affairs Committee for further discussion.
The buzz in the newsroom is that you survived a couple bee stings.
Yes, I got a bee sting on my back, and our photographer, Gavin, he got a bee sting in the ear.
Way to sacrifice yourself.
Thank you. I'm pushing through it.
Exactly. Hey, how was the weather though when you went out there?
It was beautiful. It was really
nice, right?
Yeah.
We're drying things out this weekend. We saw some peaks of sunshine out there today. So yes, those temperatures were a bit warmer than the winter-like feel that we saw over the past 48 hours. Now, we actually were able to top off in the upper 60s and low 70s out there this afternoon. Right now, we're sitting in the upper 50s, low 60s, so those thermometers starting to fall a bit more. I think we'll start off our Easter Sunday here in the 50s for most of us. First thing tomorrow, we also could find some areas of patchy fog out there because of the saturated grounds in place, so that's something to keep in mind if you're stepping out for any early morning services or egg hunts. But then after that clears on out of here, we should see more sunshine into our Sunday afternoon, making for a very pleasant Easter across South Central Texas with highs in the 70s. Now, a warming trend continues into next week. We also have one more chance for a couple of showers to a stray storm on Monday. We'll have all those details coming up in just a few.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Mia. Here's other stories we've been following today. A driver is in the hospital tonight after a rollover crash over on the north side. The crash happened this morning about 5:30 near McCullough Avenue and Harriet Drive, not far from Jackson Keller Road. San Antonio police believe the driver hit a trash can in the road, then overcorrected, leading to the rollover. San Antonio firefighters were able to rescue that driver, and no other vehicles were involved.
A delivery driver returning to work after being out arrived to find their fellow employee being held at gunpoint in a robbery. The robbery happened at a Southeast Military near South New Braunfels Avenue. The store employee told police several people were involved and waited until the store was empty before allegedly holding it up. Now, the robbers allegedly tried to open the safe but were unsuccessful. Police say the suspects were still able to leave with an unknown amount of money from the register. The suspects left after the delivery driver arrived.
New on the Nightbeat, players from the San Antonio Brahmas are spending time with families ahead of the Easter holiday. The catch is they're not their own families. They're spending time with families living at the Salvation Army Emergency Shelter. They're invited today to stop by to meet people and play some games with the kids living at the shelter. Organizers say it's a great way to give back, and players say it warmed their hearts to be around everyone.
Coming here, this really, brightening up our day. Coming down here for a football game, but we got to, meet new people today, meet some kids that really care, and put smiles on their faces. And they came and embraced us, and we want to embrace them.
The team will be back at the Alamo Dome tomorrow for Easter Sunday football. Our Andrew Seeley will have a preview of their game a little bit later in sports.
If you're out and about for the Easter holiday tomorrow, then don't forget there might be some closures in your area. We have an article that lists all the ones that you need to know about. Just head on over to KSAT.com.
Still to come on the Nightbeat, what do baseball and climate change have in common? Nothing, but one does impact the other. See the study that proves climate change is affecting baseball batting results. Plus, rodent droppings, dead rodents stuck to glue traps, and employees not washing their hands. Just a few of the violations found by health inspectors at a local coffee shop. Tonight on Behind the Kitchen Door, I show you what else inspectors found this week.
One takes access away, another provides more access, both going head-to-head in the judicial system. How both abortion pill rulings could leave abortion laws changed for good. Two competing judicial rulings have set up a battle over the abortion pill.
A federal judge suspending the FDA's approval, which had been in place for more than 2 decades.
While another federal judge in Washington state ordered the drug remain available in several states.
ABC's Karina Mitchell explains why both cases could have national implications.
Protesters taking to the streets from Chicago to Houston, one day after a federal judge in Texas suspended the FDA's 23-year approval of the drug mifepristone, a key medication used in more than half of U.S. abortions. The judge writing the FDA's, quote, lack of restrictions resulted in many deaths and many more severe life-threatening adverse reactions.
A reckless decision based on junk science that is going to have devastating consequences for our patients.
Anti-abortion advocates applauding the judge's ruling.
Well, it was certainly a victory. It was one that we've been praying for some time.
The Justice Department has already filed an appeal, and the FDA says it will appeal the ruling as well, insisting it, quote, stands behind its determination that mifepristone is safe and effective.
If this ruling stands, it would have a nationwide impact, even in states where abortion is legal, and that would dramatically reduce access to the most common form of abortion in this country.
Democrats slammed the ruling. During a press call Saturday morning, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says healthcare decisions should not be left up to the courts.
We are committed to passing the Women's Health Protection Act to enshrine the right to choose into law.
Meanwhile, a conflicting court ruling in Washington state, a judge there ruling to keep the status quo of access to the drug, writing, quote, abortion restrictions vary state by state and plaintiffs allege harm not shared nationwide. These two competing judicial rulings have set up what is widely expected to be a showdown at the U.S. Supreme Court. Karina Mitchell, ABC News, New York.
Any Easter egg hunts this morning, probably a little soggy, but then the sun came out and drying out quite nicely.
And a nice day hopefully tomorrow for even more Easter egg hunts.
Yes, the drying theme is going to continue into the back half of the weekend, which is good for Easter plans, even though it was so nice to get some much needed rainfall across a good portion of south central Texas over the past couple of days. But yes, as we head into our Easter Sunday, it's possible that we find some areas of patchy fog out there first thing tomorrow morning, as well as some additional low level cloud cover. But then as we head into Sunday afternoon, that's going to break up a bit more, kind of like what we saw today. More peaks of sunshine making for a very nice end to the weekend. Afternoon highs headed for the pleasant 70s in and around San Antonio. Now, as we head into Monday, not finished with the rain chances just yet. We could find a few showers and maybe an isolated thunderstorm before the day is done. Coverage not as high as what we found the past 72 hours. And then after that, the general theme is going to be a drier, quieter, and a warmer weather pattern that's going to take over. That's going to help daytime highs climb into the upper 70s and even some low 80s by the second half of next week as well. But first, to look at those conditions outside this Saturday night, you can see we've got some of that low level cloud cover working its way back into the area. Temperatures just shy of 60 degrees officially over at SA International. And again, because we do have those saturated grounds in place, thanks to the rain that we were able to pick up on over the past few days, I do think it's possible by about 6, 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. If you're stepping out for any early morning church services or egg hunts, some patchy to maybe even dense fog could slow some of us down out there on the roadways, but then that looks to break up and lift on out of here by the mid to late morning hours. And again, we will find more peaks of sunshine as we head into Sunday afternoon. Now, temperature-wise, tomorrow morning, somewhat seasonable for this time in April here in San Antonio, anywhere from about 55 to 57 by 7 a.m., 57 in Floresville, 55 in Seguin is that wake-up temperature Easter Sunday morning, 53 in Bernie, and 55 over in Hondo. Some low-level cloud cover possible as well throughout the early morning hours of our Sunday, and then as we start to see that break up into the midday hours and time frame, temperatures will be climbing into the low to mid 60s for any luncheons that you may have out and about. And then as we head into tomorrow afternoon, daytime highs are climbing into, yes, the comfortable low to mid 70s. Around 74 here in San Antonio, 73 in Canyon Lake is that forecast high tomorrow afternoon, 73 in Kerrville, and 75 over in Poteet out there in Atascosa County. Now Monday highs are still headed for the mid 70s, and you can see as we start to chip away at some of that cloud cover Tuesday and Wednesday, those thermometers then really start to climb around 77 by Tuesday, upper 70s by Wednesday. But before we can get there, yes, we do have about a 30 to maybe 40% potential for a few showers to a stray rumble of thunder to push through the area on Monday. There's a dip in the jet stream off to our northwest, closing in on the Rockies tonight. That's going to track eastward here over the next couple of days. By tomorrow evening, some storms are pushing across the Texas Panhandle, and depending on how well that activity can hold together, yes, it's possible that some of us may briefly need to use the umbrella on Monday. We're going to need to monitor how well that activity can hold together, so something to check back in on by the time we get into early next week. And then after that, we dry things out and warm things up with more sunshine returning by Wednesday and Thursday, guys.
There we go. Feeling more and more like spring and summer.
Yes.
Love it. Thanks, Mia.
And not a 90 on the map to complain about. I will.
You're welcome, Tim.
You're thank you. I appreciate that. All right, the Spurs enjoyed their time up in Austin. Now they can come back home where they belong, but that'll be next year because they're done playing their home games, right?
Yeah, that's correct. They're going to end their season on the road in Dallas tomorrow. Today, though, they finished their two-game series in Austin. Spurs loved every second of it. When we come back, we'll hear from the team on their experience. Plus, 2 local girls soccer teams are heading to state, and that includes the Bernie Greyhounds. Got that too next.
It's pretty lively. You know, obviously San Antonio is lively too, but the arena is nice. The people are great. We'll go where the fans are at, honestly. So,
you know, obviously people enjoy it. It's great to see the place packed like that. You know, it's a great town. So hopefully we'll be doing it more.
The Spurs would love to return to Austin in the future in big board sports. The Spurs' last game in Austin wasn't exactly the finale they were looking for. An inspired first quarter effort wasn't enough to keep pace with the Timberwolves team fighting for play-in tournament positioning. Minnesota took control with a 45-point second quarter and finished with 151 total points, the most conceded by a Spurs team in the Greg Popovich era, and they won by 20. Not a great look. Still, there's a silver lining for the silver and black. Trey Jones finished with a triple-double, finishing with 21 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. He became the 5th Spurs player ever to post multiple triple-doubles in the same season. And he had a lot of fun here in Austin.
We all enjoyed it a lot. Obviously, we've been on the road for, you know, about a week and a half now, and came in off of a road trip, haven't been able to go home, but even with that, you know, we loved being here. We loved finishing the year out here. The fans really supported us and had our back. It was packed out there both nights, even with the women's national team in town. You know, there's a lot of positives to take away from this week in Austin. I'll, you know, definitely love to come back here and play in front of the fans again. I think to be able to continue to expand this thing here in Austin will be a really cool thing to do for us in the future.
Now, with only one game left in this year's regular season, the Spurs are quickly shifting their focus towards next season. Prior to this afternoon's game, head coach Greg Popovich was asked what he'll miss most about this year.
I don't know. I don't, you know, I just move on. You know, what's next? You know, the draft and the summer league and continued development. You know, Jeremy's shot, some other player or something. It just continues through the whole summer. So it's not like missing something. It's just continuing the process, really.
The Spurs will wrap up the regular season tomorrow afternoon against the Dallas Mavericks. Fun fact, this marks the first time in 40 years that no Texas team will play in the NBA playoffs. Let's head to Brownsville for the UIL Class 5A Regional Final. The Smithson Valley girls soccer team looking to make some history against McAllen. Less than 3 minutes left in regulation in this one. Rylan Shippey with a free kick. She's just going to put it on goal, see what happens, and it slips out of the keeper's hands and into the back of the net. At the death, Smithson Valley takes a lead 1-0, and they hang on to win it by that same score. Smithson Valley will play in the UIL state tournament for the first time in program history. They will face Grapevine in the state semis next Thursday at 9:30 a.m. at Birkelbach Field in Georgetown. Over in Corpus Christi, the Bernie girls had their own chance to advance to state against Davenport in the Class 4A regional final. This one was another dramatic finish. With only 1 minute and 11 seconds left to play, Sophia Harper gets free in the box and buries her shot past the keeper. That is the only goal of the match. Greyhounds are regional champions for the second straight season. They will play in the Class 4A state semis on Wednesday at 11 a.m. against defending champ Salina. Next on the pitch, the two-time defending state champion Bernie boys face Hidalgo for the Class 4A regional title. This one went to overtime. In the extra frame, the Greyhounds took a 2-1 lead on a nice fortunate bounce and a header. It looked like that was going to hold up as the game winner, but Hidalgo equalized moments later, and the game went to penalty kicks. Greyhounds fell behind early thanks to a pair of diving staves from the Hidalgo keeper, and the run is over for the Bernie boys. They fall in PKs 4-2. Coming up later in sports, San Antonio FC is back in action for a battle of Western Conference powers. We've got some highlights, plus a lot more on the Brahmas who are returning home. Guys?
Some soccer and some football.
There you go. Perfect. Well, 3 lawmakers spoke up to show their support for gun safety reform, but only one was able to keep their position. Why some say it's due to the color of their skin.
And a Southside bakery permanently closed after its most recent health inspection. What inspectors found behind the kitchen door and what I didn't find when I stopped by there this week.
A bakery cited for multiple violations by health inspectors decided it was better to close the business than make all of those necessary repairs.
I was in for quite a surprise when I stopped by this week and found not only was there no kitchen door, there was no bakery either.
La Familia Bakery, formerly located in the 2300 block of South Flores Street, got a 77 on their recent health inspection. The inspector finding the building in such a state of disrepair, he wrote, the kitchen would not be approved for food prep if applying for a license in this condition. Must make repairs. Ceiling panels were hanging down or missing. There were holes in the walls, soft spots on the floors, as well as peeling paint. In addition, several plumbing repairs were needed. A re-inspection was ordered. When I stopped by this week to see if repairs had been made, we found this worker doing demo work inside the building.
Do you know anybody who was associated with the old restaurant here?
Well, I see the owner. I know the owner.
I called the owner of the building who told me the bakery permanently closed in early March. He's now making repairs to the building, getting it ready for a new business. Culebra Meat Market, number 7 in the 3000 block of Blanco Road, got a low score of 72. Foods were not being properly cooled, refrigeration units and coolers weren't cool enough, leading to some food being thrown out. Employees weren't washing their hands. Those who were used the wrong sink, and the hand-washing sink was found to be blocked. The owner indicated he wanted a regrade, but called back later and accepted the score. A re-inspection was ordered. Gyms in the 300 block of Hildebrand got a 78. Several small dead rodents were on a glue trap. Several surfaces and equipment needed to be cleaned, and peeling paint needed to be repaired. A re-inspection was ordered, and the business was told to remove all rodent droppings, show proof of pest control services, and complete a thorough cleaning of the business by that time. Good Time Charlie's, located in the 2900 block of Broadway, earned an 87 on their mid-February inspection. The inspector saw small roaches crawl out from behind the vent hood. That same vent hood needed to be removed for cleaning. Food debris in coolers and freezers needed to be removed, and so did the grease buildup at the fry station. Knives were stored with food debris, and raw meats were being improperly stored next to each other. That's what's behind the kitchen door. Tim Gerber, KSAT 12 News.
We were busy this week. We made a lot of stops. If you missed an episode of Behind the Kitchen Door, you can scan the QR code on your screen you see there. It'll take you straight to our BKD coverage on KSAT.com, where you can catch all of our previous episodes. We also give you a detailed breakdown of how restaurants are scored when they get those health inspections.
It's happened again. Another Norfolk Southern train has derailed, this time in Pittsburgh. Officials there say this derailment was in the west end of the city. 5 cars jumped the tracks. The cars were empty. No one was hurt and no hazardous materials leaked. This comes 2 months after another train derailed in Ohio, about 50 miles northwest of Pittsburgh. That derailment leaked hazardous chemicals and triggered an investigation of Norfolk Southern's safety practices. Members of Nashville's Metro Council and the Shelby County Board of Commissioners are now considering reappointing 2 Democratic Tennessee lawmakers back to their seats after they were ousted by a Republican-led expulsion vote earlier this week. Now, 3 Democratic lawmakers are accused of violating Tennessee's state house decorum when they joined protesters calling for stricter gun laws. This happening after the Nashville Covenant school shooting that killed 6 people. The Republican supermajority ousted the 2 duly elected Democrats who are black. Some Republican representatives showing support of the vote results, while top White House leaders disagree.
Played the video, it clearly showed her standing there not doing as much. It had nothing to do with the color of their skin.
They chose to show courage in the face of an extreme tragedy.
More than 100,000 people in Pearson and Jones districts are now without representation in the Tennessee State House until county commissioners name their replacements. The vote to reinstate their positions is intended for Monday.
Happening around the world, China's health officials are lashing out at the World Health Organization for its latest accusation that China withheld crucial data concerning the origins of COVID-19. The World Health Organization's technical lead on COVID-19 says she believes China had data it had not shared on the wild and farmed animal trade at a market in Wuhan, where the pandemic started. The director of the China CDC denies these claims and says they gave all available information for the weeks-long joint study. Experts are divided over whether the pandemic started in a lab or spread from wild animals to humans.
Pope Francis led an Easter vigil service inside St. Peter's Basilica today after missing the Good Friday procession due to bad weather. Now, normally it would be a concern when a pope skips an event like that, but given that Francis is 86 years old, it was extremely cold in Rome, along with him getting over bronchitis. At today's vigil, the Pope also baptized 8 people at the service. Francis has one more Easter event tomorrow in St. Peter's Square that will close out this week.
Busy week for the Pope. What does climate change have to do with home runs at baseball games? The answer, apparently a lot. A breakdown of a study that shows it's making a change in one of the oldest games we like to play.